जिनको कंसिस्टेंट रहना बहुत बोरिंग लगता है और वो उनसे नहीं रह पाते, वो क्या करें?
One of the biggest problem statements that they face is mental fog. Like they have like, sir, there are a lot of work, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, right? So the majority and the first thing that you need to do is to do the basics right. Why personal development is important? Because it will help you professionally as well. You're watching videos or learning, okay, this is a new thing that I should implement tomorrow.
Do you believe in smart work or hard work?
So it's more like, Charul, how perfect relationships are. It's not 50-50 always. Sometimes you're giving 90%, somebody's your other half is giving 10%. So on similar lines, for example, in the beginning of your careers, hard work will be 90%, smart work will be 10%. But I wasn't smart enough, right? So what I did was I made sure that I am putting more hours to compensate for my non-smartness.
Hello everyone, welcome to CareerGPT Podcast, and as always in this podcast I'm again with a mission to give you access to all the corporate leaders and people who've actually made a difference. Today I have a very interesting guest, and he's someone who will motivate you to start early. He just started his corporate journey at a very young age, 17 years of age as an intern, and now at 25 he is a founder of a technology company, Block Se Block. I have with me Sahil Thakur. Hi Sahil, welcome to Career GPT. How are you?
Thank you, Charul, for inviting me to the podcast. Right, I am good. How are you?
I am fine. Sahil, every time I see you, I see you as a fitter version of yourself. मतलब पहले मुझे बताओ ये मोटिवेशन कहाँ से आती है? Because मैं अपना बताती हूँ. I go to the gym once and then I skip like 2 days, 3 days and then I go back. तो कैसे रहते हो तुम motivated?
So I went to a hackathon in IIT Roorkee in the starting of this year, right? And the majority of the hackathons, what is your role is to roam around the entire place, right, where the hackathon is going on. And after so many years working, right, I first time felt that I got tired, right? Achha. And I felt like this is a new thing for me, right? I started working when I was just 17, right? For 7 straight years, I never felt for a single instance that I can get tired, right? I used to work 48 hours, 72 hours sprints, right? And I never got tired. This was the first instance. So it triggered something, right? And then my diet was always good, right? But due to the nature of my work, right, it is a sitting work, right? So that was one of the problem statements. So then I joined the gym, right? I got a trainer as well. And the primary motivation is to make sure that, when the, there is the Kamad the man thing, right? I can showcase, I can stand on my feet, right? Whether it's 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, right? On the worst case scenario, right? So that is the primary focus area. Or
but
the
then,
motivation.
ठीक है, start करना is one motivation, you need that.
Yeah.
वो कुछ एक ट्रिगर पॉइंट हो सकता है, आपको रियलाइजेशन हो सकती है कि नहीं समथिंग इज नॉट राइट या समथिंग इज गोइंग रॉन्ग एंड यू स्टार्ट समथिंग. दैट इज द फर्स्ट स्टेप ऑब्वियसली. जो सेकंड स्टेप और सबसे मुश्किल स्टेप होता है वो कंसिस्टेंसी होता है किसी भी चीज के लिए. तो व्हाट इज योर फॉर्मूला टू स्टे कंसिस्टेंट लाइक फॉर अ लॉन्गर रन?
On a personal front, I am a very boring person, right? Achha. So I keep on doing the same things, right? I can constantly, for example, for my breakfast, right, I can keep on having the same breakfast for forever of my life, right? So it is the same thing that applies on the fitness front as well, right? I woke up early in the morning, go to the gym, right? And this is a consistency, and you start getting the results as well. You see yourself getting fitter, getting into shape, right? And you start looking attractive as well, right, in photos, videos, and you then say okay, only going to a gym for 2-3 months is yielding me such results. Why should I continue doing this, right? So that is coming from that personal front where I am quite a boring person, right? On a personal front, that also pushes me to have that kind of consistency when it comes to the fitness matters as well.
ठीक है, you are a boring person, that helped you stay consistent. But what about people जिनको कंसिस्टेंट रहना बहुत बोरिंग लगता है और वो उनसे नहीं रह पाते वो कंसिस्टेंट, वो क्या करें?
So the majority of the people that I work with, right, one of the biggest problem statements that they face is mental fog, right? Like they have sir, there are a lot of work, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, right? So the majority and the first thing that you need to do is to do the basics right? what is the basic thing that you should do, right? Prioritize, right? Even if you have thousands of tasks pending up, right, you need to streamline what needs to be done, right? What is the most critical thing that needs to be done, right? For people who are facing this issue, right, that they can't get consistent, right? I think just have 1% 2% consistency, right, on a single daily basis, right? It can also help out, right? For example, one biggest metrics that I help people out is Eisenhower metrics, right?
Acha.
And this is a regarding a productivity thing, right? How you can prioritize your work, right? So in Eisenhower metrics, what is, there are 4 different things. One is important, non-important, urgent, non-urgent.
Yeah.
So you write these things, urgent, non-urgent at one end, and important, non-important at the second end, right? And then you list down all your work into these 4 parameters.
You divide your work and like.
Exactly. And then based on that, you start working on 2 things. And when you have these things fallen in consistency,
place, yeah.
right, that helps you being a consistent player, right? And one more thing, if you are asking me about how I get consistent. So what I do is, for example, I am starting my work, right? The first thing I'll be doing in the morning is the hardest work. So if I have 3 tasks on my hand on a single day, right, I'll be picking up the hardest thing. Why I'll be picking? Because it will give me the boost that okay, this is done, now the rest of the things are very easy to done.
मेरे लिए थोड़ा सा उल्टा है इस चीज़ में. For me what works is कि मैं बस स्टार्ट हो जाऊँ. वंस आई स्टार्ट फिर आगे कंटिन्यू करना ईजी. अगर मैं हार्ड टास्क ले लूँ ना पहले, तो मेरे साथ प्रॉब्लम है हार्ड टास्क का जो मेंटल स्ट्रेस है ना, टू इवन स्टार्ट दैट वर्क गेट्स ऑन माई नर्व्स. उसका फिर क्या हो सकता?
So for people like you, right, it's called 2-minute rule, right?
अच्छा.
So what I do is, for example, if there is a task, right, for example, I need to send a document to one of my partners, right? So what I do is, if it's gonna take less than 2 minutes, what I will do is I'll do it immediately. So I don't let the task piled up for me. So there is a 2-minute rule for people like you. For example, if you don't want to take up the hardest task, you start doing the tasks that are very easy, right, which will take less than 2 minutes.
Okay. Just don't pile up things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can also block the time period, right? For example, based on the nature of my business, I need to do regular virtual meetings. Right. So what I do so what I do is, for example, our partners, right, our educational partners, for our educational partners, all the meetings are lined up after the lunch, right? But all our business meetings, right, commercial meetings are all lined up before the lunch, right? So you can block your day based on work, what needs to be prioritized, right? So so these are one of 2-3 things that you can do for yourself to get consistent.
I learned from you is, पहले तो divide your tasks and then do or bunch up like similar tasks in one and then उनको एक साथ निपटाओ at a particular time frame. Obviously it will help छोटे छोटे आपके जो period of breaks हैं वो भी कम होंगे because सारे एक से काम आप एक time पे कर रहे हो.
Yes. And
good stuff.
One more thing is take regular breaks, right? Some people say just keep on doing the things, right, in one go only. I'm not that person. I'll sit on my the chair, right, and I'll do consistent work for 20-25 minutes, right? I'll get up, I'll walk around, right, and then having such breaks help you keep on doing work for a larger period of time, right? Rather than just sitting out for 1 or 2 hours without walking around, because that will also help you regroup your ideas, right? For example, if you are working on a proposal or something like that, right? When you give yourself a small break of 5 to 10 minutes, it helps you bring new ideas as well.
Yeah, totally agree. And then I think that's breaks within a day, right? Even take your weekends also seriously. अगर आप पूरे weekdays you are busy, take your weekends seriously. मतलब enjoy those time. अपना उसको work life balance तभी आएगा जब आप weekends you keep for yourself and weekdays you keep for work. और इसके अलावा भी ना दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई प्रीच कि आपका जो वर्क है, वन इफ यू आर लाइक अ वर्किंग प्रोफेशनल, वन वर्क इज योर ऑफिस वर्क, देन यू नीड टू टेक केयर ऑफ अनदर वर्क दैट इज योर पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट. दैट शुड गो हैंड इन हैंड. बहुत सारे हम मतलब we have been seeing a lot of founders criticizing the weekend schedule or taking weekends off. तो आई पर्सनली बिलीव वीकेंड के टाइम पे और या फिर वेन एवर यू आर टेकिंग अ ब्रेक या फिर आप अपने ऑफिस वर्क से अलग यू नीड टू गेट टाइम फॉर योर पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट इज वेल. तो उसके लिए कैसे टाइम निकालें और उसके लिए क्या स्केड्यूल वर्क्स द बेस्ट?
So in our organization, right, what we do is like we don't encourage people to work every time, right? What is the most important metrics? What is our North Star metric? Is to get the work done.
Right.
It's not number of working hours, right? It doesn't matter whether you're getting the work done in 1 hour, 2 hour, or 10 hours, right? Whatever it takes is my philosophy, right? When it comes to like work-life balance, how you should plan your personal development, right? What is the nature of your work? For example, if you are an anchor, if you're coming to the studio, right, shoot for the whole day or whatsoever your schedule is, the most important aspect is to work on what you're doing. Like, maybe you can watch other creators, right, what they are exactly doing, right?
That's also personal development.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is over a period of time, like, the effort, the amount of effort that you will be putting out will be less, right, based on the experience that you will be gaining.
Right.
So the most important metrics, on personal development, because why personal development is important? Because it will help you professionally as well. If you are an anchor, right, and if you are like your free time when you are at your home chilling around, right, you're watching videos or learning. Okay, this is a new thing that I should implement tomorrow. It will help you only, right? So I don't say like you should work more than 8 hours or this or that. What I endorse is to work on yourself always in the beginning of your career.
Right.
So when I started out, when I was a 17 years old kid from Himachal who can't even speak in English, right, what encouraged me, right? So I used to work only for like I got an internship, right, for 3-4 hours, right? So I keep on extending that like time period. I used to go to the office then 5 hours, 6 hours, because I start getting the enjoyment out of it, right? So if you're enjoying the work that you're doing, right, I don't think
तुम्हारे लिए recreation भी तो वही है ना, you like doing that.
Exactly. So for like founders pushing this thing rather than making sure that they are mission aligned,
Right.
and vision aligned, what you are doing, right? For example, we are doing this podcast. What is the purpose of this podcast? Is to make sure that people are understanding the basic things. Whatever we are preaching into this or whatever we are discussing into this podcast, it is not the first time that somebody will be
Doing, yeah.
right? But most important is the application, right? That you should after watching this, you should apply, you start doing things differently. Because even if you take 2-3 steps, small steps on a daily basis, the amount of change that you will see in a long term perspective. The problem with the the current generation, current social media, noise, you can say, is the instant gratification.
Yeah.
For a matter of fact, maybe you are aware, but quick commerce like the Blinkit,
Yeah.
Zepto,
Yeah.
the only country where this industry is growing is India,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
People are like in US, Canada, they can't believe what's happening in India when they see this quick commerce thing going on here.
And you also see that into the entire personal space of the people as well, right? Now you see you go on to the Instagram thing, right? People are celebrating concepts like situationship,
Yeah.
right? And it reflects and demonstrates where the society is going, right? So it's everything is like okay,
Quick.
exactly. So for example, why candidates are like very much protesting, or employees are like into the work-life balances, because they want instant gratification,
Yeah.
right? And you need to work on continuously, if you need to make big money, right, you can't make the big money immediately,
Yes.
right?
I think that's the difference of opinion between millennials and Gen Zs. Gen Zs want everything at once, and millennials have that patience to kind of climb that corporate ladder one step at a time. So that's the difference, and I think both have their own pros, both have their own cons. They just have to find a balance. ये सब जब हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे, दिस वाज वन क्वेश्चन दैट वाज गोइंग ऑन इन माय माइंड, एंड अभी मेरे को याद भी आया कि मेरे को कल ही एक वाइल आई वाज कोचिंग अ कैंडिडेट, he had this question. So I talk about personal development, I talk about reading books, doing your own upskilling courses, ये सब करना है. अभी अपना जॉब तो करना ही है, ये सारे upskilling और personal development करना है. इफ़ आई डू दिस ऑन माई डे ऑफ्स या फिर मैं सैटरडे संडे, तो मतलब मेरा खुद का ही एक वो आ जाएगा, सैचुरेशन आ जाएगा, एंड लाइक आई विल बर्न आउट, राइट? तो मतलब वो इज़ इट राइट टू हैव दैट पर्सनैलिटी डेवलपमेंट और वट एवर एक्टिविटीज़, रीडिंग बुक्स इन माई पर्सनल टाइम जो मुझे इन्जॉय करना चाहिए, और या फिर मेरे को ऑफिस टाइम में ही वो सब करना चाहिए? मतलब व्हाट इज़ द बेस्ट वे?
So it depends what is your age. For me, like, when I was young, right, when I was 17 years old, right, I used to work on the weekends as well, right. I used to, like, do this personal development thing in my personal time, right, which will help me eventually professionally.
Right.
So what happens is, once you are experienced person, right, then you can take that, like, personal space, right, when you have a family, right, when you need that time period, right. So for me, right, whether you should be using your personal space for professional or personal development, it's a matter of at what stage of life you are at.
Exactly. मतलब इससे मुझे याद आया कि when we were younger, like in our teens, like 18, 19, 20, even in our college, हम पास इतनी एनर्जी होती थी. We used to do stuff like unnecessary stuff also. कॉलेज में फालतू के इवेंट्स हो रहे हैं, we used to run around from 7 AM in the morning till 10 PM at night. But आज we don't have that energy. तो जब तक वो एनर्जी है, यूज़ दैट एनर्जी. अगर बर्नआउट हो रहा है, होने दो बर्नआउट, बिकॉज आगे when you are in your 30s, you would not have that energy to experience that burnout.
Exactly, like, and for example, in the starting 4-5 years, right, of my professional career, right, I used to do this only, right, like, getting intense burnout, right. Do I regret it? No, because that is helping me professionally right now.
That set up that actually sets a pace for you.
Yeah.
और अगर वो नहीं है ना, तो आगे की लाइफ डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगी. वो पेस पकड़ना शुरू में ही ज़रूरी है,
right.
एंड यू कैन इजिली टोन डाउन, एंड बाद में थोड़ा थोड़ा करके यू काइंड ऑफ टेक योर टाइम एंड टेक योर ब्रेक्स.
And then, like, you can eventually, like, nurture other people in the leadership roles as well, right. It is not important that you keep on doing all the things yourself, right. What I now believe is, like, you need to nurture people as well into leadership, right. And they can eventually replace you. And for that, like, from employer and employee's perspective, for me, I am not looking for, like, hiring somebody who can immediately replace me. Even if he is able to, like, contribute 20% of the work I am doing, I can hire 5 people.
Right.
And I can get free, I can do another things, because see, if you are just doing the normal things, right,
mundane stuff, yeah,
and, like, in the game of sustaining, you won't be able to score big. Right. So that is the most important thing, that you nurture a leadership, right. You create another level of leadership who can take care of things, right, who can have that, like, courage to take decisions, right. Because in organizations who move fast, the most important thing, whether somebody apart from the founders can take decisions, can make decisions or not, that is the most important aspect.
Right. Do you believe in smart work or hard work?
So, like, on the same lines, at what stage of your life is, right. So when I was, like, young, right, I was not smart enough, right, to figure out things, right.
Then at that moment, if you think smartness is not working right now, work hard.
So it's more like, Charul, how perfect relationships are,
right.
It's not 50-50 always. Sometimes you are giving 90%, somebody's your other half is giving 10%. So on similar lines, for example, in the beginning of your careers, hard work will be 90%, smart work will be 10%. And it doesn't need to be work like this only, right. If you are smart enough in the beginning only, right, then
Good for you.
yeah, right. But I wasn't smart enough, right. So what I did was, like, I made sure that I am putting more hours to compensate for my non-smartness.
And most of us are not smart in the initial days of our career. So the best way is put on the hard work, work more in the initial years and set the pace right, and then you are good to go. Great stuff. मैं मैंने कहीं पे हैक पढ़ा था, that if you want to stay consistent ना, the best way is never skip 2 days. तो इस रूल के हिसाब से इफ़ आई एम डूइंग समथिंग, लेट्स टेक अ एग्जाम्पल ऑफ जिम, राइट, तो मैं एक दिन इफ़ आई टेक अ लीव, इफ़ आई डोंट गो टू जिम, दैट इज़ एक्सेप्टेबल. बट वो मैं 2 दिन का कभी गैप ना लूँ. एक दिन का गैप लेने के बाद नेक्स्ट डे आई नीड टू गो देयर. देन इफ देर आर टाइम्स फिर से मोटिवेशन नहीं है, जस्ट टेक 1 more day ऑफ, बट नेवर 2 days. तो डज दीज थिंग्स वर्क, या फिर मतलब सब?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're getting comfortable in not doing the things that you need to do, then it's a, like, it's a sends a wrong signal, right? If going to gym is important, right, and you should be doing it, right, you can skip 1 or 2 days, that's fine. But if you're continuously doing that for 2 days, 3 days, then obviously it will make you comfortable that I can do this, right? For example, for me, right, I don't drink. For me, I don't drink soft drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, right? So for me, like, whenever I am, like, on occasionally I'm doing it, right? If I'm continuously doing it, right, then I held myself responsible, right?
Right.
That, my weight will be gaining around, right? So I need to see the consequences that, what this thing will lead to, right? Ultimately. So you're ultimately 100% right, and I agree to that, having breaks, right? Even it's going to a gym or, like, in terms of on your work as well, right? You what I say to my, like, people and folks, that not every day will be your day, right? You won't be able to, like, go 100% every single time. What you need to do is, like, in patches, you need to make sure that ultimately the job is getting done. As simple as that. Nothing else matters. So majority of the people, like, the average Joe focus towards the what is the input. Smart folks focus on what is the output, because this entire universe is not going to be changed by your input. It is going to be changed by your output. What exactly you're building up, right? How you're getting it done, whether you are yourself getting it done or somebody else, that's it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own perspectives, own metrics to work upon, right?
So you have 2 candidates that you need to hire from. One is like a topper, all first class, and then IIT IIM grad. The resume looks super fine. काफ़ी impact create किया पुरानी internships में, काफ़ी सारी internships करी हैं. The second candidate, एक personality wise vibe आपको आई, that he's smart, street smart है बंदा. So out of those 2 candidates, who would be your first preference?
So for me, the most important trait is whether the person is a hustler or not.
And how do you identify that?
So what matters is whether he is comfortable working in an environment where not everything is figured out already, right? For my organization, like, we are bringing clients, right? We are bringing developers, right? Not everything is already defined. So there are some gray areas, right?
But this is a big red flag for candidates or employees. They don't want to join where things are not clear. तो फिर इस केस में क्या है मतलब?
So then comes the vision thing. There comes the mission thing, right? That is why, like, what exactly our vision is, right? For example, for Block se Block, the primary goal is to make sure that the developers in, like, India, we have millions of developers, right? Whether we can provide them some monetary opportunities through the medium of hackathons, it's the most important goal for us, right? Whether that person align with others, whether that person align with that thought, right? That is the first and foremost important thing, right? And then he can pick up things from there on, right? I can understand that, when you say from an organization perspective that, not everything is figured out. The candidate might feel like, I can go to some other place where everything is figured out. But at the same time, that is, like, that the, like, the scope of your improvement, like, professional,
learning
personal growth, that will be completely different in my organization as compared to a mature organization, right? So for me, the most important trait is whether the person is a hustler or not, right? And obviously, like, now as, like, we are maturing in our business, right? We also look upon the experiences, right? What kind of experience that person already have, right? So might not that person fits in that particular role, we can give them something else. Maybe see that whether we can groom them into a leadership role, right? So sometimes you need some experienced folks who can, make sure or manage things that are already being figured out.
And then personality hires or hustlers for the rest of the things and newer roles.
Yeah.
Great, great, great. वैसे भी अब I think after COVID there has been a lot of fluidity in the market. तो अब employers or hiring managers are also open to hire people who have career breaks, career gaps, और ये सब चीज़ें थोड़ी normalized तो हो गई हैं. You need to make sure that हर कुछ picture perfect होने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Just that you need to make sure आपके विजन अलाइन होने चाहिए. ठीक है, अगर आप इट हैज़ टू बी अ विन विन सिचुएशन. वेन एवर यू गोइंग टू एन इंटरव्यू, ऐसा नहीं है कि यू नीड टू जस्ट इम्प्रेस द इंटरव्यूअर. यू नीड टू मेक श्योर फॉर योर सेल्फ ऑल्सो कि वो रोल आपके विजन से अलाइंड है कि नहीं है. अगर आपको लग भी रहा है कि द कंपनी इज नॉट इन अ स्ट्रक्चर्ड लाइक प्लेस एट द मोमेंट, तो just see if the vision or what the company is doing aligns with you. अगर वो है तो everything else will be figured out for you and it will be better along the way.
Yeah, like from employees perspective, the most important thing whether the work is interesting or not, right? So I know a lot of people who are not doing anything in their life because they are not able to find anything interesting enough. Right, you can say that Gen Z kind of mindset, right? But that is happening around, right?
Yeah.
People are not like looking, okay, I can do any kind of job, I just need the job. No, that is not, because now see India,
they want to just be happy.
Yeah.
So if they are getting work and they're happy, they are good with it. Otherwise they don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the one of the primary reason that the work needs to be interesting enough, right? Challenging enough for them. Then only you will be able to attract a lot of people, right?
Right.
So that's.
Yeah. आज दिवाली है तो एक ना सुबह सुबह when I was going through my feed, एक बहुत interesting reel मुझे दिखी थी. I even discussed it with Rahul also. I sent it to him. So उस reel में क्या था? It is a story of two friends. The friends are Lakshmi and Saraswati. तो वी ऑल नो लक्ष्मी बहुत चंचल होती है, टिकती नहीं है. इट काइंड ऑफ मूव्स फ्रॉम वन पर्सन टू अनदर. देयर इज जस्ट वन इंस्टेंस वेयर लक्ष्मी जी बिहेव्स डिफरेंटली. और वो होता है अगर कहीं पे भी सरस्वती जाती है तो वो पीछे पीछे आ जाती है लक्ष्मी, राइट? एंड देन शी स्टिक्स टू दैट प्लेस और स्टिक्स टू दैट पर्सन. तो जब मैं वो रील देखी ना, मुझे मतलब थोड़ा हिट हुआ. एंड आई काइंड ऑफ लाइक मेरे लिए ये थॉट काफ़ी मतलब आप कह लो कि आई बिलीव इन दिस थिंकिंग कि आपकी जो एंड नॉट जस्ट एजुकेशन, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट डिग्रीज हियर. सी व्हेन वी आर रेफरिंग टू सरस्वती, आई मीन ज्ञान. तो ज्ञान जहाँ पे होगा पैसा आएगा, ठीक है, एंड लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए आएगा एंड इट विल स्टिक. बट डू यू थिंक कुछ गेट रिच क्विक थिंग्स हैं दुनिया में एंड यू कैन जस्ट you don't need to worry about education or degrees or stuff like that and you can get rich quick? Are there any?
So there are schemes, right? But all are scams, right? There is no quick rich scheme, right? So on that front, when you were telling me about the Saraswati and Lakshmi ji's thing, right? So the most important thing is to make sure that you are skilled enough, right? That is
ज्ञान होना चाहिए,
right? Whether you are earning X or Y doesn't matter, because eventually, see how market works, right? How everything is why gold is priced at X amount and not silver at that amount. Why so? Because there are market forces.
right?
When you are going into a labor market, right? Everything is a labor market, right? We are also working into that. When you go out and you say I am that much of a skilled person and you are not earning enough, there will be a person who will have that kind of a incentive to make sure that you are earning enough,
Right.
to make sure that you are incentivized enough, right? Because if your current employer is not doing that, somebody else will, right? So on that front, my when you are saying that whether it's possible to get rich quickly, right? Obviously with the advent of technology that's possible, right? Earlier it used to take a lot of years. Now if you can get some kind of good technology, you can create good IP, then it's possible. but entire thing is possible only because if you can do the hard work, smart work. There is no scheme out there where you can enroll yourself, right? And like you can get rich quickly, whether it's MLM scams happening around, right? All these things, right, are not going to help you out.
एंड इट विल नॉट हेल्प यू इन द लॉन्गर रन. आप वही हम बात कर रहे हैं ना कि सरस्वती के पीछे लक्ष्मी जी इसलिए ही आती हैं और वो टिकती भी इसलिए हैं क्योंकि वहाँ पे इट इज़ मतलब स्किल है वहाँ पे, है ना. अगर आप, और इट डजेंट मैटर, डिग्रीज डोंट मैटर हियर. आई थिंक डिग्रीज के अलावा भी द एरा वी आर लिविंग इन, यहाँ पे तो सब कुछ आप सीख सकते हो जस्ट विद द क्लिक ऑफ अ बटन. ठीक है, यूट्यूब पे जाओ, इवन लाइक देर आर कोर्सेज, ट्यूटोरियल्स ऑन एनीथिंग एंड एवरीथिंग. तो सिर्फ स्किल गेन करने की बात है, और स्किल जब आ जाएगी तो वो स्किल आपके पास, नो वन कैन टेक अवे योर एक्सपीरियंस और योर स्किल्स, राइट? एंड विद दैट विल कम मनी.
एंड यही मैं आपको एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग इसलिए भी मुझे लग रहा है बिकॉज दिस इज़ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट आई लाइक टीचिंग माई पीपल, राइट? सो देयर वाज एन इंस्टेंस, राइट, रिटन इन आवर लाइक बुक्स, राइट? सो एक बार क्या हुआ कि लक्ष्मी जी वेंट टू शिव जी एंड उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे वरदान दीजिए, राइट? एंड शिव जी ने कहा कि आप जिसको जो देना चाहती हैं आप दे सकती हैं, लेकिन छीनने का अधिकार मेरे पास है, राइट?
अच्छा.
So you can give anything to anybody, right? But I can take it away. So जब ये बात सरस्वती माता जी को पता चली तो वो गुस्सा होगी, नाराज होगी शिव जी भगवान से. तो उन्होंने उनके पास गई, उन्होंने कहा कि आपने उनको वरदान दिया, मुझे भी आप वरदान दो. सो देन शिव जी भगवान उन्होंने कहा कि आप जिसे जो देना चाहती हैं वो दो, छीनने का अधिकार मेरे पास नहीं रहेगा. सो दिस इज़ द थिंग दैट आई प्रीच एंड टीच टू माई folks, right? Anyone can take your money, anyone can take anything from you, but nobody can take your skill set, right? So the most important, so what is the kind of person I am? I go into the basics, right? If you give me a task, I'll say, okay, if you say like, Sahil, let's do the podcast. What I'll do is, for example, if it's my responsibility to do a podcast, I will see whether there is a studio, whether there is cameras enough, right? Similarly, as a person, right, on a long-term perspective, the most and the basic thing that you need to understand is to make sure that you're skilled enough. Right. Keep on working on your craft. And whether you get incentivized right now or 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line,
is another discussion altogether. But initially you have to make sure कि आपका जो focus है वो skill development हो, ना कि the monetary part of it. एंड दिस इज़ लाइक, ये तो आपने बहुत अच्छी, आपने मतलब आज तो सुबह से मेरे दिमाग में यही चल रहा है अबाउट हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इज़ स्किल डेवलपमेंट एंड हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इज़ टू हैव ज्ञान. तो उसके बिना तो आप पैसा कितना भी कमा लोगे, इट विल नॉट स्टिक विथ यू. दिस इज
like whenever there is a difficult situation, what eventually will help you is your skill only.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you are get laid off from your job, right? And we have seen across, right? Whether it was a COVID thing or the microeconomic conditions turning around, right?
And पता है जब ये layoffs की बात आती है ना साहिल, तो and we have seen it a lot. I am in HR. I'll tell you about HR. So the first team to get laid off is HR because hiring stops, recruitment stops. तो अगर आप सिर्फ वो स्किल पे ही काम कर रहे हो जो आपके वर्क में या फिर दैट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट टू यू एट योर ऑफिस, तो उससे भी काम नहीं चलेगा. यू नीड टू डाइवर्सिफाई सो दैट अगर एक स्किल अभी इरेलीवेंट हो रही है, यू हैव समथिंग टू काइंड ऑफ अ डिफरेंट पाथ टू काइंड ऑफ चूज, राइट? तो जस्ट मेक श्योर वाइल यू आर एट इट, ट्राई डाइवर्सिफाइंग इट. एंड आई थिंक ऐसा ज़रूरी नहीं है कि वट एवर आई एम डूइंग, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम एक्चुअली, मैं अपना एग्जाम्पल लेती हूँ. I was in HR, right? For me, things like politics or things like cricket doesn't make sense because कुछ है ही ना relatable. But then I started kind of developing interest, and then I understood that anything that you kind of find interesting or you like reading or watching will help you either in networking, make connections. आप नई जगह जाओगे, how would you start a conversation? तो यही छोटे छोटे चीज़ें होती हैं. एवरीथिंग दैट यू डू इन लाइफ विल हैव एन इम्प्रेशन ऑन यू. तो कुछ भी करो, डाइवर्सिफाइड रखो अपनी प्रोफाइल. talk about things that you like, you love. Maybe उसमें भी आप थोड़ा research करो. Just try different things out.
Exactly. Like, I used to do, firstly, I used to do only the sales thing, right? I started my career as a sales guy, right? Then I get into the operations thing, right? Then I get into the business development part,
Strategy part.
right? And then I used to do content as well, right? So what eventually helped me, like, multiple, like, wearing multiple hats is that, whenever there's a tough situation, I can turn it around.
Yeah.
So, for example, to give you an example of, like, if you are a static graphic designers, right? Your podcast must be having people who will be, like, designing the, like, thumbnail, right? So my advice is to whether you can work on Figma, right? Whether you can make UI UX design for a website, right? This is the next skill set, right? So what eventually is, like, when you are saying that, diversified, right? What is the starting point of doing that? So my advice to, like, what are the connected things?
Yeah.
Right.
Look at what is the next great or big thing.
Yeah. If you can make, like, simple Maggie, right? Try learning the vegetable Maggie. Right. That can eventually, keep on. So, when we are saying, like, learn new skills, people like, where to start, I can't do this, right? For example, if you are in sales, right? Learn business development.
If you are in business development, learn strategy.
Yeah.
If you're in strategy, learn analysis. तो धीरे धीरे करके diversify, and you need to just make sure of one thing. Layoff उनके होते हैं जिनको obviously मतलब there are a lot of other market situations and market forces, but then it all boils down to अगर आप replaceable हो तो आप हमेशा खतरे में हो. You just need to be irreplaceable, and how do you become that? To have like to become a full package. ठीक है, तो वो ऐसे ही होगा if you just give yourself time to develop skills, learn something new every day.
So हमने बायोलॉजी में 10th में एक वो थ्योरी पढ़ी है, थ्योरी ऑफ नेचुरल सिलेक्शन, राइट? एंड it applies to everything.
Yeah.
If you are not, like, making sure that you are attractive enough, right, in your personal space, right? If you are a boy, right, if you're not attractive enough to a girl, why somebody will date you?
Right.
Like, what I feel like everything is a relationship, right? For example, if you're going on to a dating app, Tinder, Hinge, right? If you're not an attractive enough male guy, why somebody will like you?
Yeah.
Similarly, it's a match and match kind of a thing with the companies as well.
Naukri.com पे भी तो तुम्हारी प्रोफाइल वो शॉर्टलिस्ट कर ही रहे हैं ना.
Right.
मैं तो इससे इतना ज़्यादा अग्री करती हूँ ना साहिल. As a recruiter, I can tell you, I feel like I am like a matchmaker only. क्योंकि both things are like almost same.
Yeah.
You just need to impress the other person around the table. तो वो तो दोनों में कर रहे हो. Even if you're dating, you're doing the same thing. So you just need to be attractive enough. The difference could be here in the skills, and there may be other reasons.
Yeah. And, like, this is not going to be a, like, for example, a milestone that you have achieved. Right. It is going to be a journey. Right. For example, if I am working on my fitness, right, first thing is to get into shape, then is to build muscles, right, then do X number of things, right? Or you take an example of, for example, if you're into sales, right, you do the basic sales, right, then you start working on to business development, bigger ticket size sales, enterprise sales, right? So there are n number of things that you need to do when you're working as an employer, right? You always need to, like, वो कहते हैं ना तर्कश में और तीर लेके आओ, right? So if you have more skills, right, then you are more valuable to the organization, and once you are more valuable, then you will be more incentivized.
और more valuable के साथ में एक और चीज़ ऐड करना चाहूँगी साहिल. So when I was working as an HR, there was this guy in my team who was good in data analysis. And as HRs or as a recruitment team, he was the only one doing analysis. तो उसकी जो value थी ना team में, we would not like if he was on a leave for straight 2 days, the whole team would panic because we were working on large data sets. They were like thousands of candidates that we were screening and putting on Excel. अब उस Excel फाइल को कौन अच्छे से वो डेटा को रिफाइन कर रहा था, वो वही कर रहा था. तो ये एक स्किल थी. While he was in recruitments, in HR, he made sure he has like a skill that he can use to differentiate himself and make himself irreplaceable. When there was a time our team was struggling, we were hearing news about layoff, he was not stressed because उसको पता था कि बाकी सब irrelevant या फिर हो सकता है replaceable, मैं irreplaceable हूँ. I am someone जो पूरी अगर टीम रहेगी तो मेरे को मेरी ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. That is the goal.
100% I agree to your point, right? So like whenever you are working, you're starting off your career, right? You start with the basic things. So keep on adding new things, right? It will eventually help you in everything, whether it's professionally, whether it's personal. For example, if you have multiple skill set, you can apply for multiple roles. Right. For example, in the worst case scenario, you get laid off. If you have multiple 3-4 different profiles, you'll have the relevant experience, right? Then the company will have the confidence to hire you. Right. And you can sail the difficult times as well. Right. For example, for myself, right, I can do operations, I can do sales, I can do business development, I can do any majority of the which is
functions,
the core functions of an organization, right? To just give you a context, right? Last year around, I met a person, my dear friend, right? He's running a technology company, right? So they used to have around 15-20 folks, right? So he was he was getting a big contract, right? So we got connected. He asked my help that, how I can scale this up, right? So I helped him design the entire, how to make sure that, team will be incentivized, right? How team will work, how operations will carried through, how communication will happen, right? So I just want to tell you that in the last 1 year, I worked with him as a consultant. We scaled his organization from 50 to 20 developers to 125 developers plus team. And how we are able to do that? Because that was kind of a skill set I already possess. Right. That you to make sure that, because when you are scaling up a team, you need processes. Right. To make sure that not everything is falling apart. Right. Because when you go very brisk, that we will be very aggressive, whether you are bringing new people into the team, because there won't be a culture alignment. Right. Not everybody will be charmed away.
Right.
Okay, I'll be doing everything, right? So eventually what happens is, what help my friend is I had multiple skill set. Right. And that is the one thing that I believe everyone should work on, right? If you're only one dimensional, right, nobody likes you. Right. I'll give you the example, you mentioned cricket, right? In cricket, who is the most important player? Is the all-rounder. Right. IPL, cut. So auction. So, IPL auction is going to happen in a month or so, right? Who is going to be the most valuable player? There's the all-rounder category, right? So Ben Stokes, people like Hardik Pandya are the most valuable players, right? Why so? Because they're not one-dimensional. Right. They can bat well, they can bowl well, right, they can field well. So if you have all three qualities, right, you make yourself irreplaceable.
That is in cricket, obviously, 100% agree. I want to understand, in corporate, what is one skill that you vouch for, that irrespective of whether you are in HR or in sales or operations or in tech, that you need to have at this economy or at this market?
So what I feel like is the adaptability, right? If you're not adaptable enough, if you're saying, this is a new thing, this is a fringe type of a thing, I won't be looking at it, right? In our organization, we work with AI right now, right? If you say, AI is just a fringe thing, right? It won't change much. Then over a period of time, you won't be able to survive enough, right?
You need to adapt with the changing times. 100% agree. And this is like a soft skill, like a hard skill you think you need to have irrespective of any function or any industry.
So getting the job done, right? What ultimately drives any organization, whether you are able to do your work or not, right? To keep entire North Star, because you need to understand what is the North Star metric for my company. Right. If you're a video editor, the North Star metrics, whether you're able to edit this particular video in that particular time period or not. So the hard skill is to make sure that your core functionality. So when you're diversifying your skill set, another important thing is to make sure what is your core skill set.
You need to fix that first and then kind of move around.
And then make sure that you are performing it at the very best.
Right.
You keep on adding elements. For example, in this podcast, right? What editor can do? it can add more elements, edit in that fashion that is more information is getting there. You can make it more engaging on a screen. These are the key elements that a person should be doing. That's the like so first principle thinking only, right? But it's the basic thing that you need to do. So these are the basic things.
Understood. We started this podcast where you told us that you started working at 17 and you weren't very comfortable with English, and you know.
I'm still not.
But you have come a very long way,
Yeah.
and I can see that when you're talking on camera, it's like a huge thing, and you're speaking well. I just want to understand from you, what are your 2 cents on how someone who has no like exposure to English should learn, because I see a lot of candidates struggling with this one thing, and it's basic but still very, very important.
So my mentor, right, he advised me to watch English movies, right? So he gave me the Netflix subscription when I joined his organization as an intern, right? When I was just 17 years old, right? So he told me that start watching English movies, right, with subtitles on. So that helped me. It may sound like quite
No, this is like, I also suggest the same thing.
Right.
The first thing is to listen first, and then
And then what happened is majority of the course I start using some English words, right? And then majority of the course start getting into English only, right?
Right.
Then I start thinking in English only.
Right.
So the final stage right now is whenever I am having a thought, I can think in English.
आज मैं तो काफ़ी मोटिवेट हो चुकी हूँ. आई बिलीव नेक्स्ट टाइम आई एम नॉट स्किपिंग माई जिम like for straight 2 days. I have got my dose of motivation, and obviously like I think कुछ भी आप start कर रहे हो, कुछ भी when you are starting out, the first thing is, as you said, कि you need to make sure, or you need to have this in your head कि अभी मैं जो भी कर रहा हूँ, it should be on my skill development. That is the core discussion that we had today, and this is what both of us kind of vouch for and endorse. So I loved our discussion today, and I think whoever is listening to this would have some sort of motivation and will not procrastinate and will update their resume the very next moment. और वही हम चाहते हैं, to kind of get out of this zone of procrastination and start your journey to growth. I will meet you in the next podcast, Sahil, and it was nice speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Charul. And whatever you are doing at CareerGPT, it's quite inspiring, right? I am always thankful to people who help people get their jobs. Right? In my case, I started my career thanks to Internshala. Right? So in that similar fashion, right, I say that, the kind of work that is cut. So I want to say the kind of work that you are doing is quite inspiring, is helping millions of people who are watching you through Instagram or will watch you through YouTube now as well, right? And I extend my wishes and best of luck for this podcast, right? I really hope that, this podcast help people start learning new skill set, right? Get better at their work, right? Because ultimately that is the long-term thing that they can do.
Right. And happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali from my side as well.
Thank you. Thanks.